Hey guys, welcome into Believe in Eagles. I'm your host, Lee Mayock, and joining us as always is this fine fella right here, my dad, Mike Mayock. Woo! As always, this podcast is brought to you by my favorite online betting source. BetOnline.com is the world's most trusted betting platform, and it's your number one source for everything sports betting. And I'm obsessed with like all things like points, discount codes, all those little freebies. So head to Bet Online today, and don't forget to use your promo code BELIEVE BLEAV for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. If I were to give you some advice, because now I'm like I feel like I'm pretty deep in this betting game now. I've bet probably like 5 times. I would say do one of the AJ Brown like prop bets. I think that would be good for receiving yards. And we'll get into why shortly, but that's what I would be going with. Dad, are you going to bet?
I don't bet, hon.
But I have a code for you. It's BELIEVE, BLEAV.
So it sounds to me you like the prop stuff, right?
Yeah, I like the ones that are more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that fits you. That fits you.
Yeah, like so the only other time that I'll probably bet on anything, and like I'll do a couple, is for Super Bowl, when it's like, hey, what color is the Gatorade that they pour on the winning coach going to be? Or how long is the national anthem going to take to be sung? Like those fun ones.
They're right up your alley.
Yeah, sometimes they're like, is the halftime performer going to be wearing like green or yellow? Like I love those. Those are fun.
I'm sure you do. You're probably pretty good at them too.
Actually, I kind of am.
Yeah.
It's like when I don't take March Madness seriously and I just go via like, oh, do I like this city better? Do I like this mascot better? Oh, there's someone on this team named Dan and I have an Uncle Dan. Like when I do that, I like win.
You do.
I know.
And when you grind over it and text me and say, do you want to do a pool and do you want to do this? And then you're awful when you grind on it. But when you just have fun with it, you're pretty good.
My claim to fame is that I picked Fairleigh Dickinson to win that game because they spell Fairleigh like Leigh.
Leigh. I figured somehow I was going to get back to you.
I mean,
hello.
You got to put yourself first. If you don't, who will? Thank you. That is my TED Talk. Okay, here's the thing. It's NFL Week 15, and nothing has changed, but everything has changed in Philadelphia. I mean, it's kind of drama central. And unfortunately, it's giving last season vibes, and that's kind of scary. Considering last season they were like 10-1, and then it was just a disgusting, scary downfall into hell. And I'm really hoping that we can nip this locker room drama in the bud before it gets any worse, so that New Orleans is in the picture. But I mean, honestly, like I've said it before, I live in Center City. All the sports talk, local and national, has been Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown passing. Yeah. And that all started on Sunday after the ugly win against the Panthers. Is this a long time coming, or do you think that game the catalyst? Like what's your perspective on this offensive situation in Philly?
I think most wide receivers in the NFL have diva traits.
Yeah.
And they should. It's an individual position. There are statistics attached to their name. Like if you're an offensive lineman, there aren't any stats. None.
Right. You're just playing for your own pride.
You're playing for your pride and your
team, obviously.
Right. Yeah. And with receivers, having been around a lot of them, there's some diva traits, and that's fine because some of those traits are what drive these guys to be so good. Mm-hmm. Right? The drive to be excellent, to be the best. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are two of the top receivers in the NFL. So if you kind of look at it from their perspective for a second, Saquon comes to town, and right now he's the number one option. And remember last week we talked about we know what their identity is.
Yeah,
they're a run team.
First, yeah.
They're a physical team. And they can close football games out by running the football. So the way I look at it is you kind of want to throw more early and get a lead. And
Is that
one of
also
the
considering? Is that also would that also help with the slow starts? Do you think?
well, I think they've tried to do some of this. It's a good question. I remember years ago, Bill Cowher, when he was the coach of the Steelers, used to tell me, Mike, we want to throw the ball early and often. We want to get a lead, and then we want to pound it down people's throats in the second half with the run game. And that's kind of what I think the Eagles would like to do. And that's where, and Saquon has more yards in the second half than most of the running backs have in the whole game for the season. I mean, he's been unbelievable. The O-line has been unbelievable. So that kind of sets the tone for the conversation. Like, it's Saquon's team. So some of the wideouts could be a little bit frustrated by the number of targets they're getting. You and I have talked a little bit about the type of quarterback that Jalen is. And he's more of an RPO, play action, as opposed to, a Peyton Manning that's going to sit in the pocket, bing, bing, ball out. Tom Brady, bing, bing, ball out. Anticipate, throw. That's really not who Jalen's been. So that's kind of a long way of saying, after all this controversy, and because I knew this would be your first question, because you like the drama.
It's part of it. I don't want it to be happening, but you can't ignore it.
No,
they can't even ignore it.
So this morning I watched every pass play the Eagles called last week on tape and took notes on all of them. And just, I think it's, without making it into a big schematic deal, forget scheme. And I think I can narrow it down to a couple things that are really relatable, okay? Number one, players make plays. And the Eagles have two of the best wideouts in football. You have to give them opportunities and trust them enough to go make plays. Okay?
Can you tell me what you mean by that specifically?
Yes, I'm going to.
Okay.
Okay? And because they have Saquon Barkley, they get more single high safety coverage, therefore more single coverage than most high-level wideouts do. Okay? So when I say you've got to trust, players make plays, and you have to trust those players to make them. For instance, last week in the game, you're getting a lot of single coverage on those two guys. Early in the game, they had a 3rd and 7, and it was obvious pre-snap the safety was in the middle of the field, and J.C. Horn, who's a really good corner, was in press coverage on A.J. Brown.
Okay.
Like, if you're Jalen Hurts, your eyes ought to be popping open with dollar signs. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Single coverage, press coverage, my guy against their guy. Throw it up and give him a chance. He looked right at him. It's 3rd and 7. Didn't pull the trigger. Waited, and then he threw it to a backup tight end across the middle, incomplete. And I'm going to myself, do you want to throw it up to one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the league and let him go make a play 40 yards down the field? Or do you want to hold it and hope the backup tight end comes open? I mean, that's a go. Like pre-snap, that should be a go like 100% of the time.
And didn't you say that, is it still true? You said it a couple weeks ago that Jalen has the longest amount of time holding the ball before he throws it.
That was that week.
Okay.
And this week I haven't seen a stat, but he held it a long time. Okay. And the corollary that goes with the example I just gave you was there were several plays where both AJ and Devontae had single coverage with off corners, and they were running comebacks, deep curls or digs, and the quarterback looked right at them and decided not to throw it. And this is where I think Jalen has to trust. This is that word I used earlier. He has to trust that his receivers are going to protect him. Even if it doesn't look like they might come open, he's waiting to see.
Instead of anticipating?
Before they – when the big number 11's running a comeback, and that corner's in a little bit of a side bail, and just rip it.
Like,
Throw
trust that the best player on your field is going to go where he's supposed to go.
He's not going to let the corner undercut it and intercept it. Trust him. Even if it's incomplete, trust him. Same thing with Devontae Smith. Different body type, but same philosophy. So I think Jalen's comfort level is he's so risk adverse right now because of throwing all the interceptions last year and everything. Okay. He doesn't want to throw the ball up. But you got to trust those two guys. Players make plays. They're getting opportunities to make plays. And I think Jalen's waiting to make sure it's the perfect one instead of just ripping it and trusting them. So they're getting opportunities, and I think the quarterback's got to just throw it up and give him a chance.
That sounds like the yips.
I don't think it's the yips. I think Jalen's really smart. And I think he knows he put the ball up for grabs a little bit last year, and he's trying really hard not to. So he's staring some things down, and I think he's just got to rip it and say, hey, 11, protect me. Hey, 6, protect me. Because, again, players make plays. Give them a chance.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's kind of clearly, like, the damage has been done somewhat in the locker room, though, would you say? I mean, how have you seen drama in the locker room trickle down to, like, a bigger thing? Like, how much of an issue do you think this drama is? Do you think it'll go away if they beat the Steelers? Do you think because this is what I'm worried about. What if this game Jalen just feeds AJ continuously? It's almost like, here you go, like, now you can shut up now, let's get over this. And I don't think that's what AJ Brown even wants. I just don't want them to overcompensate and make it even worse, even if they do win.
Oh, it's a fair point. Nick Sirianni's been quoted. The offensive coordinator's been quoted we got to do a better job of getting the ball to 11, especially early. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the game plan they're going to be trying to get it to 11. Now you can't just feed 11.
Right.
Okay. This is the NFL. You got to be judicious. You got to understand but I just pointed out when the opportunities are there. Mm-hmm. Single high safety, single coverage on either one of those two guys, trust them and rip it, right? So I think the coaches can help him get the ball out to these guys, especially, AJ. I mean, I'm just as concerned about Devontae, even though he doesn't say much.
Yeah, but you saw him and AJ Brown on the sideline, on the bench, and clearly they were.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to roll into the situation like last year. And you and I have talked a lot about over the years about culture, and I always say it's an easy thing to talk about. Oh, the culture in our locker room. Oh, we got to. It's an easy thing to talk about, but it's a hard thing to develop over time and be consistent. And it's the players in the locker room that have to kind of govern a lot of that. So the worrisome thing to me this week was Brandon Graham. I
feel so bad for him. I really do. I don't think he meant to say anything.
I don't think he did either, but he let it out.
I know.
All that did was, that complicates an already difficult matter. What I'm going to trust with the Eagles this year.
Trust is your word today. You really love it.
It is. Word of the day for the Eagles. I'm going to trust that these coordinators have been around and they're solid and they're good and they're going to know what to do this weekend. They're going to know when to get the ball up in the air, when to run the football, take some pressure off the quarterback. I don't think – their defense is a really good defense. It's not like last year that was going downhill as the season went on.
Right.
It's a really good defense. So as long as Nick can kind of just steady the boat, I think AJ's a pretty smart guy. Mm-hmm. I think he's emotional. And I think when you see what happens on the sideline and you get a little bit of an outburst post-game, those are the normal times when players are frustrated. During and right after the game. Mm-hmm. That's why the thing about Brandon Graham the next day kind of hurt.
Yeah, and right? He really didn't mean to, I feel.
So I would think there's going to be very little drama. I think there'll be some frustration if they don't throw the ball well.
Yeah.
So that's the innate pressure I think Jalen's going to feel. Is just we got to throw the ball well this week. Um, if he just understands when the odds are in his favor with those two players and distributes the ball, I think they'll be fine.
Okay, so honestly, I don't even think that I'm not even going to call what AJ Brown said or did an outburst at all compared to a lot of the other receivers in the league who are doing a lot more um, outbursts, as you would say, whether it's on
Yeah.
social media, whatever. I mean, I think the Eagles should kind of be grateful for how AJ Brown is handling it at this point.
Well, I think he's a smart guy,
Mhm.
and I think ultimately he's a team guy,
Yeah.
and I think they all need to understand that, and they don't really think this way, but 20 years from now, a Super Bowl ring is going to mean a hell of a lot more than whether they had 103 catches or 84.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, so to get that Super Bowl ring, next
Yeah.
up is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're kind of scary right now. What are the keys to the Steelers game this weekend?
How about Mikey Tomlin? Huh? Everybody thought they were going to be in fourth place in that division. They're 10-3. They completely reworked their quarterback room. In the offseason, they get Russell Wilson and Justin Fields out of nowhere. Pickett was their quarterback last year. He's in Philly now. So Russell Wilson's playing well. So what's the recipe for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense with Russell Wilson? It's run the ball, play action, and that's what Russell Wilson was so good at in Seattle. So they got to stop the run, and off of that is play action. It will help them that their most talented wideout is out.
Pickens?
George Pickens, yeah.
Is he officially out?
What's that?
He's officially out?
I believe he's out.
Oh.
And you want to talk about a diva? Now that's a diva. But you got to stop the run game or slow down the run game and be really cognizant of the deep shots off play action. Don't let Russell go off. When Justin Fields comes in the game, you got to be hyper alert for quarterback run, any kind of quarterback option, quarterback draw, anything to get him on outside or planned quarterback runs.
Has the Eagles defense been up against anything like this yet? Like a 2 quarterback package, very different quarterbacks?
Not really. No, I don't think so this year. Not off the top of my head.
But does Vic's system defense prepared for that, do you think?
Oh yeah, and Vic is he's so smart. I mean, they'll be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
They know because they have several years of tape on Justin Fields what he does well and what he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to bring him in to just sit in the pocket and throw the football because that's not what he does. They're going to bring him into a game in specific situations to either be an athlete or a decoy, one or the other, mm-hmm. right? So I think the Eagles defense is well suited to compete this week. On offense, I think it's really important that they don't let number 90 wreck the game, TJ Watt.
Yeah.
He's rare, he's special, he's all those things. A couple of years ago with the Raiders, we played out there, and early in the game, it was just like the TJ Watt show. And I was up in the booth going, oh my God, we got to double him. And then he got hurt. Not badly, but he got hurt enough to miss the rest of the game. And all of a sudden, Derek was a lot more comfortable, and we ended up winning the game at Pittsburgh.
Did you see Derek Carr got hurt again? I feel so bad.
Yeah, I think he fractured his left wrist.
Yeah, he's. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I do too.
Anyway, okay, so TJ Watt, obviously, that's
you can't let him wreck
fun
the game.
To go against a TJ Watt. Yeah,
you cannot let him wreck the game. They're physical. They're tough up front. They're going to be well versed in the run game. They're used to that in their division. They're going to get after 26. Joey Porter's a good corner. It'll be interesting to see if they match him up with 11 because Porter's a big, long, tall, heavy corner, and they can match up that way. So it'll be interesting to see if they match him. But at the end of the day, I think the Eagles could probably play action, get the ball out early, try and build a lead, like I said, and ultimately Saquon still ought to be getting 20 to 25 touches minimum. So that that's the recipe.
That's the recipe. So
Yeah.
big picture after that, do you think that
Yeah.
the Eagles are in a good position to catch the Lions to secure the first seed in the NFC playoffs and get a bye?
Yeah, it's really, as you know, the only one team in each conference gets a week off, a bye, and that's the number one seed. So Detroit right now is 12-1 in the NFC. Philly's 11-2, and don't forget about Minnesota. Nobody talks about friggin' Minnesota.
Minnesota and Sam Darnold just doing the thing.
Sam Darnold, the quarterback, I think his head coach, Kevin O'Connell, is gifted, and their defense coordinator, Brian Flores, is also gifted. He's got a lawsuit against the NFL because of prejudicial stuff.
Okay.
He's African American, and at the end of the day, I hope that doesn't hurt him from getting another head coaching opportunity.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because he's really good, and that defense is playing. But anyway, to get back to your point, Minnesota is also 11-2, and Minnesota and Detroit play on the last day of the season. So one of them is going to get a loss, right? So the Eagles have to kind of be looking at taking care of business, try to continue to win all four of their games. They got Pitt, and then they got three NFC East teams. They're at Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. So three of their next four are at home.
Yeah.
So they've got a chance. I mean, Detroit could lose to Minnesota. They play Buffalo this week.
The Bills, I was going to say, that's a toss-up, right?
Yeah, that's the two 4:00 games are the Eagles, Steelers, and then the Buffalo, Detroit. They're two of the best games of the year on at the same time in the 4:00 window this Sunday. And I got, I'm going to be locked in on Philly, not just because of you and me, but I got Pittsburgh next week at Baltimore.
Oh, fun.
So, so I'll be doing a little Pittsburgh scouting.
Oh, that's a great game, too. I love that. Yeah. I love when they play each other.
Yeah, that's a fun game. So,
you also have, so do you think they can catch up to the Lions? What are you saying?
I'm saying that I think Detroit is the most complete team in the NFL this year. But they've played some tight games. They've got an awful lot of injuries on defense. And if the Eagles just one snap at a time, one game at a time, they could be walking into the last week of the season with a chance to get the number one seed. And I always think that's worth it to get that bye week.
Yeah, especially when there's drama going on. Might be a nice little reprieve.
Yeah, and it'd be awesome to see them compete with a clean game, all three phases. Like I hated last week defensively. That rookie wideout dropped a touchdown pass with 40 seconds left. I mean, I don't know how he gets behind Slay and number 8, what's his name? Derek, not the C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Oh.
You can't get behind those guys with 40 seconds left and a 6-point lead. That's unbelievable. That's bad situational football, which rarely happens with the Eagles.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just rambling. I'm sorry.
No, honestly, it's nice. Usually I'm the rambler. Don't you have Army-Navy this weekend?
I'm fired up. I love Army-Navy.
Wait, I didn't know they changed locations. Why did I think it was only in Philadelphia?
Because for like 100 years, it was almost always in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. So I'm not far off.
No, and they used to have a clause in the contract because CBS does the game where like once every 4 or 5 years they could move it elsewhere. And it would usually either go like to the Ravens Stadium or to Washington Stadium.
They keep it in the Northeast.
Because of the proximity of the academies. Mm-hmm. But Philly's the logical place because it's in between the two cities. Mm-hmm. So I love this game. I get
where is it?
It's in Washington.
Okay.
I mean, when you get the flyover with the cadets and the midshipmen on the field, I get goosebumps.
Will you try to take a video of it for me?
It's an unbelievable. If you feel any patriotism as an American and you like football and you like competition, there's a book called A Civil War.
You talk about this book.
Written by John Feinstein.
You talk about this book so much.
Read it. It gives you such a flavor for what that. It's not just a rivalry. Anyway, I'm going to be quiet, but you never read that book. And you need to.
Yes, I have. You forced it down my throat 10 times.
Tell me about it then.
It's a Civil War, Army Navy, big matchup.
In other words, you never read it.
No, I did. I swear to you, I read it.
No,
I
you
just blocked it out because you talked about
No,
it too
you
much.
didn't. No, you
Honestly.
didn't. No, you didn't.
But who's favored?
Army won the AAC, which is the division they both play in, the conference they both play in.
Mhm.
But it's really cool because Navy went 8-3 this year. Army went 11-1. They both beat ranked teams. So, and they come into this game with a chance to win the Commander-in-Chief trophy, which is the most important thing to them, which is the two of them in Air Force, the three academies. And my senior year at BC, we played all three of the academies. And I friggin' hated it because it's all these tough little knuckleheads that are pissed off that Notre Dame didn't offer them. And they like chew your kneecaps on option football for 60 minutes. And it doesn't matter what the score is. They just want to beat the crap out of you. They want to finish every play. It was I have so much respect for those three academies.
Did you win any of those games?
My senior year, we won 2 of the 3. And we lost to Navy.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Good try.
What's that?
Good try.
Yeah, we should have beat Navy. Navy kicked our butts that day. But anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I remember.
Were they good? Were they good outside of that, or do you not?
I remember coming out of the locker room at Navy and Nan and Pop being there, and the big hug from Nan, and some of my brothers and sisters were there, and it was just we lost, I think, 20 or 21-0, and I think I had 2 or 3 interceptions, which is rare because Navy hardly throws the ball, so I don't even. I think that was the game I had 2 or 3. But, like somebody was trying to tell me, hey, great job with the interception. I'm like, you kidding me? We just got our asses whooped. No great job on the interceptions. But
it definitely was not Pop that was saying great job with the interceptions.
No. Pop was almost more pissed off than I was.
Pop said, I'll meet you at the car.
No, I had to get back on the bus for the freaking ride home.
Wait. So speaking of tough older coaches. How about Bill Belichick going to college?
Yeah.
Does that surprise you?
It does and it doesn't. Obviously, he's never coached in college, and he's 14 or 15 wins away from the all-time win record held by Don Shula.
Yeah.
So I know Bill is a historian. And you can talk naval war battles or you can talk the history of football. It doesn't matter.
Do you think he read Civil War?
Yes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, on the Navy campus, there's the Belichick Library, which I've been in before. He donated all kinds of books to the library. They named it
cool.
after. Yeah. So, but regarding North Carolina, I'm really surprised, number one, that more NFL teams were not more overtly interested in him, because I think he could have come in for 3 to 5 years and set a program, historically bad program, on the right path. Organizationally, how you function, how you win, what you do with situational football. He'd have brought a staff in that could have continued when he retired.
Are there any teams that stick out to you like this season that you think would have benefit from him?
Oh, I think, I don't think Dallas was ever going to offer him that job. I think Jacksonville's got a quarterback. I think that would be interesting if that job became available. I think he'd want to go in a situation. If he had, I think he'd wanted to go. He probably would have wanted a quarterback, so he didn't have to find one and build.
But isn't that what he has to do in college now? Find a quarterback and build and recruit all day long, every day?
Yeah, it's fun. I heard a former player on the air yesterday saying there's no way that 72-year-old Bill Belichick can recruit 17-year-olds in their living room. And I was like, I disagree. They're going to set North Carolina up like a pro NFL team. They've already hired Mike Lombardi to be the GM.
Yep.
Okay. They're tight for 40 years. Mike knows football. They're going to bring in their guys, and they'll bring in a bunch of young guys too, because Bill's always done that. He finds guys that come out of small schools that love football, that will never play in the NFL, and develops them as scouts and coaches. So that'll be a young building. The head coach might be old, but that'll be a young building.
But in
And
terms of recruiting,
yeah,
personally, I don't think the high school kids that he has to recruit, number one, understand how good he was or care how many Super Bowls he won. It wasn't as much their era. I think their parents will be impressed, which could help in the recruiting process, right? But I don't necessarily think the kids will, nor do I think the kids would really be interested in such a disciplined, regimented system that he's going to bring about. When you have like Dion coaching Colorado, like I couldn't see anyone picking UNC over Colorado in that situation.
Yeah, I kind of disagree because I think the common denominator for Division One recruits, football recruits, they all think they're going to the NFL, right? Maybe only 10% or less go,
Mm-hmm.
but they all think they're going. So they all want to go to a school that's going to help them get to the NFL. And whether they're 17 years old or not, I think the aura of Bill Belichick and 6 Super Bowl rings, eight overall. I think he can tell a story to the kid, to the parents, to whomever, that if you come to Chapel Hill,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to run a pro-style offense, a pro-style defense, and we're going to highlight what you do best. And you're going to have your best chance to play in the NFL because we're going to get you there. The bigger question, I think, if I was a kid or a parent, I'd be like, yeah, that's good for 3 or 4 or 5 years, but where are you going to be? I mean, what happens if 3 years from now you retire and my son is, a redshirt junior? Now what? I think that's a big question, and I think Bill will have the answer because he'll build a staff.
Well, he'll say, my son will be coaching then. Isn't that part of the stipulation?
I don't know I don't think there's any stipulation.
Yeah.
What's that?
He's coach in waiting.
Who is?
His son.
What, you're saying it was stipulated in the contract?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
I would say I'm 98% sure that that's the case. But at least that is a succession plan if people are looking for one.
And it's only a bad plan if the kid isn't a good coach. And I can tell you right now, he's a really good coach.
Right.
I mean, I've known him since he was in high school.
Mm-hmm. No, whatever. It is a plan. Like you're saying, there needs to be an answer if someone's asking.
They will have a plan, and I think they'll be very creative. And I think, to your point, there might be a percentage of recruitable athletes that may not want that, the discipline and all the rest of it. But I think most of them are just going, how do I get to the NFL? I think the parents are going, I want them to graduate from a great school, and UNC is.
Yeah.
And I think they'll build it up with NIL and portal and all that kind of stuff, just like an NFL free agency. I mean, Mike and Bill know how to do that, and they're going to model it after everything they've done.
Okay, but here's and then I'll let you go because I know, but I have one more question about this. That's the recruiting part, right? So say he does recruit so well and everyone wants to be with Bill Belichick. What about the part that the portal, like you said, kids can leave whenever they want. So what's not to, and honestly, if you ask me, kids are like pretty soft right now these days. And I don't think that most of them could handle being coached with that much discipline, with that much scrutiny, with that much, tough love. I don't think that's the vibe for young kids anymore. I don't agree with it, but I just don't think that's the way things are going for them. So what's to keep them there? He could say he gets the kids he wants. What's to keep them there when they can just leave whenever they want?
I think the kids that are doing well are going to stay, and the kids that aren't, like any program now, will probably leave. The key to the whole thing is how you handle the portal, because Bill and Mike are going to treat the portal like NFL free agency.
Okay.
It's the same thing. They're going to grind tape, and they're going to get the kids in the portal to come. Okay, we need 2 guards, a wide out, a tight end on offense, and they're going to go in the portal and attack it. Okay, so really, I think both their backgrounds lead me to believe they're going to be very successful because they are going to take the NFL boilerplate, apply it to college, make some tweaks,
Mhm.
and I think they'll probably end up being one of the best run programs in the country very quickly.
Do you think Coach Belichick will like change his ways at all?
It'll be interesting to see if he softens a little bit,
Yeah.
given what he just did with the media and everything, or if he goes back into Bill mode.
Hmm.
I think it would be fun if he could find a middle point there a little bit,
Yeah.
a little more relatable.
I think I think that would solve a lot of issues.
Yeah, and Bill's Bill's really relatable.
Mhm.
When he lets the guard down, he's very, and if people to watch the Manning cast and see him, and like Bill's a very relatable guy. It'll just be interesting to see how he decides to handle this. And none of us know.
No, but it'll be fun to watch.
Yep.
Hmm. Okay, well, good luck this weekend at Army Navy.
Thank you.
Yeah, try to take some content for me. I want to see. I
I'm
haven't been to
excited.
an Army Navy game in a while.
You met President Carter at an Army
Carter?
Navy game. Jimmy Carter.
I met
I mean-
President Clinton.
I mean Clinton.
Do you
What am
think
I
I
thinking?
was 107?
You weren't alive. You weren't alive at Carter. Huh?
Oh my God, are you okay?
I mean Clinton. I'm sorry. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were walking in the hallway of a suite and he winked at us.
No. What I was going in to talk to the CBS announcers because I worked at CBS then at halftime, and we were standing in the hallway outside the announce booth, and he was coming in to talk to me on television at halftime.
Uh-huh.
And he and his Secret Service went into the booth, and at the last minute, I could see him looking at you and Michael, who were probably what,
Yeah.
10 and 8,
Yeah.
12 and 10, whatever.
Probably 10 and 8, yeah.
And it was not a photo op. He walked in, literally 5 seconds, came back out, introduced himself to you and Michael, shook your hands. I mean, it was really cool.
No, I know, I remember. And I remember it being Bill Clinton, not
No, I
Jimmy
apologize.
Carter.
I don't know how I got
What the
Jimmy
hell is
Carter.
wrong with you?
Sorry. Bill Clinton.
Okay, honestly, you've had enough.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to you later. Thanks, Dad.
All right, bye, honey.
Love you. Bye.